And now if I may introduce the gentleman who will be speaking today. Dr. Bob Weber will be our first presenter. He is the superintendent of the Ouachita Parish School Board. Next will be Ryan Mansell. Ryan is the co-founder and principal of Flywheel 360, a Dallas marketing company specializing in education that is partnered with Quest of the Keys. Following Ryan will be author Scotty Sanders. Scotty is a West Monroe native known to many in Ouachita Parish as a business person and a former executive pastor at First West. He is now the CEO of Life Catalyst Consulting, and he makes his home in Dallas, Texas, where he spends time speaking, writing, and consulting. We will conclude the presentation with a time of Q&A, and now we can begin with Dr. Weber.
This kind of book, I told Scotty right before, when we started having contemporary services in churches, a lot of the traditionalists didn't think that was a good idea. Y'all remember that? A pretty good fight for a long time. And as we progressed through it, we realized that some young people needed that to bring them to Christ. And it's worked, hasn't it, Mark? It's worked. And I look at this book the same way. Kids have so many opportunities today with video games and with the television shows. When Faraday growing up, we had one TV station, can't we? But the things that they see that aren't good on TV, the video games that they play that aren't good, so many negative type influences. And they're getting away from reading. You saw in the paper this week where they're getting away from writing. They're getting away from reading as well. We need books that will push that interest forward for these children and young people. And that's exactly what this does. Plus, and I think I'm not supposed to talk about this yet because it's going to be in the question, it really helps us with our GLEs, our Common Core, it's aligned to that. And that's a win-win for school systems. Now, a lot of the parishes around us look at what we do first, and then they follow, to be honest with you. We're going to set the tone. We're going to set the example here in Ouachita Parish. So I appreciate you guys so much and your friends that came with you today. It's going to be huge, y'all. Maybe we were starting slowly right here today, but it's going to be huge, I guarantee you.
When Scotty first invited me out for the press conference today, I said, absolutely, without a doubt, you don't even have to twist my arm. So we're here.
But we did anyway.
We did anyway. We are honored as Flywheel 360 to be associated to and a part of Quest of the Keys project. We just see huge opportunity to make a difference in students' lives, make an impact on the lifelong love of learning. And we are certainly pleased to be part of this project with Dr. Weber and team here, and we look forward to making it a great success. When Scotty and I first met, he learned that I had over 15 years experience in publishing K-12 side. And so he immediately handed me a copy and said, hey, would you mind reviewing this book for me and giving me a little feedback, because we'd like to get this into public schools. So I took the opportunity, and I actually read through it with my kids. Sixth grader and a fourth grader, younger target audience, but no less interested in the topic. And quickly discovered that it was a wonderfully crafted book, well written, that held their engagement throughout the book. And the most impressive thing that I found was that the topics of discussion that we had would not normally have come up through the regular course of the day. Got to talk to about leadership, about their roles, about character development as a whole. And I was so impressed by it, I came back to Scotty and said, hey, this is a great book, don't change a thing, and we want to be part of it. So that's why we're here today. And so far, our role right now with the pilot is twofold. One, we've developed the alignment to the Common Core for grade 8, English Language Arts. So it's going to provide additional writing component, additional vocabulary, and additional discussion questions beyond what the educators in the classroom would have. In addition to that, we've engaged with one of our strategic partners, School2. I believe some of you may be familiar with them. And we're going to be using their contest engine, their social contest engine, to create additional engagement outside of the classroom. Have them provide feedback online, have them download videos, upload videos, things like that. Again, to encourage not only the discussion points in the book, but just to encourage the discussion beyond the classroom. We are just so excited to be part of this project, and we look forward to its success.
You know, at the end of the day, what I've found that it's all about being around the right people. It really is. And my desire is to be an encouragement to a lot of people. And by the way, I don't want to miss out Dr. Frank Hoffman, who did the pledge. State Representative Dr. Hoffman was my 5th grade teacher. He's the one that emphasized to me. I wasn't the best student, I'll admit that. You know, I was a hard case. But I remember Dr. Hoffman really emphasizing about reading early on, and that's always been a passion to him, and I believe those were seeds early on in my life. So Dr. Hoffman, thank you for being here, a personal friend and a great supporter of what we do. So I'm very thankful for that. But I also want to mention, you know, as part of being a group, the team of the Quest of the Keys, there's a lot of people that's beyond just seeing the book here, and my name's on it. And really and truly, when I think about it, mine may ought to be on the back page, but not on the front. Because there are people like my wife, her name is right below here, but she had a significant amount of contribution to get to the book where it is, along with Kevin Lynham, who is our creative director. And we used a creative team of about 6 people. I tell people to write a book at the level that I want it to be, it was going to require an incredible team of people to write at this level. Because I had, you know, sometimes people have a way of saying things to you, and they probably need a little bit of filter, but I guess I've got relationships. Some people, they feel comfortable doing that. So I was talking to a gentleman Wednesday night, and he said, you know, Scotty, I read your book, and I absolutely loved it. And what I want to know is, how did a country boy from West Monroe write this book? You know, no filter. And I said, well, let me just tell you, Walter, it was a great team of people to get here. So I want to assure you that, my wife being a chief part of that, and very grateful for my family being here, certainly the influence that they've had on my life. Now, the thought of working with Dr. Bob Weber, who I have just the utmost respect, and Dr. Don Coker, we go way back. I mean, I've known Bob probably 30 years. Don and I, Dr. Coker, probably 40 plus years, and that ages us, but we knew each other when we were really young. So it goes way back. So the opportunity to work with great people again is such a blessing and just a privilege to do that, associating yourself with good people. But also to partner with the Ouachita Parish school system. I mean, that's like a dream come true for me. It really is. I've been in Dallas for 6 years now, but it was really my desire. I want to come back and make a difference because this community has invested so much in me. I think about, I grew up here, I raised my kids here. So it's with great joy and excitement that we get to bring Quest of the Keys as part of the national pilot with the Ouachita Parish school system. So, you know, I get asked this question a lot. Sometimes I really don't know how to take it. Is this a compliment, or what do they mean by it? It's like, what led you to write a fantasy fiction book? Can I tell you, I've asked myself that many, many times. What led me in that direction? So here's really the skinny of it. I've had a desire to encourage and empower people for years. I've trained thousands of people. Over the last few years, I've trained people in the United States, Central America. I was in Europe this fall. I've been to China, just got back from India, and literally trained thousands of people. But what I realized, in order to really impact the next generation, the young adults, the teenagers, we've got to speak to them in a different language. We've got to connect with them at a different level. All you have to do is really pay attention to pop culture, and you can figure out what they're getting into, right? You can probably, some of you, name some of the things. Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Twilight. That's what resonates with them. So rather than ignoring that, let's do something that we can speak to them in their language. Let's connect with them. Let's make the effort, but we can still teach them things that will make a difference in their life. And I think it's really important that we not just work on them being a better student, but how can they be a better person? How can they be the very best that they can be? And I think if they end up doing that, I think we'll all be very proud of our students. So again, with that said, I'm very, very excited about bringing Quest of the Keys as our national pilot here in Ouachita Parish in the state of Louisiana. We also have other states that have committed to be a part of Quest of the Keys, where I tell people, because people in Louisiana don't understand why I ever went to Texas, so I just say that's my mission field these days. That's what I tell people. That makes them feel better. Now, I've got some of my Texas buddies here. Ryan, Darren Pierce is one of my senior advisors, drove in all the way from Dallas last night to be here. These guys make a great effort. So God has opened up some great doors of opportunity to connect with some wonderful people. But, you know, just to be able to bring it back to the state of Louisiana, to start here is very, very significant. But we've got commitments from Texas, Arkansas, Indiana, I don't believe that one, Kentucky as well. And actually, I'll be flying to Kentucky next week and speaking with 3 different schools there. But it starts here in Louisiana. And we're very, very optimistic that Quest of the Keys will be national by sometime in 2014. And I need your help to get the word out, because I believe that's something I can't do by myself. We're going to do that as a team. But I want us to look back someday that we can say, I was in that room. This was the genesis when it took place. So that's my dream, my hope. But I want you to be a part of that. This is not a singular thing. It's not a singular effort. This is a lot bigger than me. And that's why I cherish the partnership with the Ouachita Parish school system, because I fully feel this is a collaborative effort that we're going to learn from one another. I expect to learn from the principals, from the teachers, and the students and the administrators how we can make it the very best it can be. It's not the best it can be yet, but I believe with the help of the Ouachita Parish school system, it's going to be better for the next group of churches, of schools down the road. So let me just share a few things why I think it's, what makes Quest of the Keys different than other books that a school would use. So I want to talk to you about some of those things I think makes it a significant difference. One is that when you read the book, Quest of the Keys, not only will they learn just the how vocabulary, comprehension, the things that we have in the curriculum side of things, but they'll learn timeless principles, again, that will not only make them a better student, but will lead them to be a better person. The second thing that Dr. Weber alluded to, and so did Ryan, is that we do have a teacher's edition that is aligned to the Common Core State Standard Curriculum, which, as most of you know, that's the top that you can be, and that's where we want to move in the state of Louisiana, and other states are already doing that. So we think aligning that with the Common Core is very, very important, and we'll continue to develop that. We want to learn from the teachers and the students, how can we improve and even make that better? And I already know there's some people in this room that can give us some feedback and some insight that really take that up to another level, and also create additional tools that will go along with that. And then the third thing I'll mention to you that to me may be the linchpin here is this, that as I mentioned earlier, the fact that this book, we have no doubt about it, it will be relevant with the majority of teens. And I think that's a key factor when you think about on the landscape. When you can get a student that they're reading something out of enjoyment versus this is a book you have to read, it makes a big difference. So as they're being engaged in learning, that they're also able to take these principles and apply them in a practical way, we think that will be a big, big difference. Some of you are familiar with Dr. Willard Daggett, an expert in the education field. He made this statement. I read it in a book a while back. He said, what students need to be to succeed in the 21st century is an education that is both academically rigorous and real-world relevant. And we believe that there are principles in this book that is real world. Now, this isn't a fantasy world, but there's real-world application in the principles that are taught through the book. One of the things, just to emphasize the commitment we had to make sure that this book would be relevant, we went to great lengths. One of those things, we included a 19-year-old female as part of our writing team. And by the way, she's got dyslexia, but she's now, because she got to contribute here, she is so inspired. She's starting to write her own book. You're talking about encouragement, to think that we included someone that was an inspiration for her. Who knows? She may be a best-selling author someday. But we got that perspective from a female and also from a teenager. We also went to great lengths to include a focus group. And let me just say, the ones of you that teach teenagers will appreciate this. To get a focus group of 15 to 16-year-olds to sit down and talk about things was a challenge. But they gave us incredible insight related to the story, the characters, and oh, by the way, I love the book cover. That group selected the book cover. They're the ones that said, you know what, this is cool. I love this one best, because we were going a different direction, and they're like, no, that's too Disney World, type look. You need to go to something more fantasy. But had we not had that focus group, we probably would have never got something that really young people can relate to and identify. And then we've had numerous of teenagers read it. We get feedback from them, and we've received great, great feedback. So we think we're on the right track as far as the content and what people will learn from the book. And in addition to the book, I tell people this, and I hope this will make sense to you, that this is a book, but Quest of the Keys is so much bigger than a book. It's not just about the book. It's about the impact that it can have on people's lives in schools and a lot of other environments. So what we've done, we've created what we call a franchise of Quest of the Keys. We have things, and this should come up on the screen. We have a very vibrant website that people can go to, so you can see that on the screen. We also have a education video. You see a screenshot. You can check out the video, and some of you can leave with a copy of that video as well that was professionally produced. We're on Facebook, so we're able to interact with teenagers along the way that they can stay connected to the story. And we also produced a video book trailer. My publicist, Cheryl Wicker, who's a personal close friend of mine, happens to also be a movie producer, and we worked in a collaborative way with a person in Minnesota, people in Texas, people in Louisiana, to create an original video book trailer with an original music score behind that, because we want to do things. And when we come to the Ouachita Parish school system, we want to bring value and we want to bring quality that the people at Ouachita Parish can feel good and proud of it. We're not going to do anything less than the very, very best. And so we bring the best people to accomplish those things. In addition to that, Ryan mentioned about SchoolTube. Through our partnership and relationship with Flywheel 360, we're also connected, very, very honored to connect with SchoolTube. If you're not familiar with it, it's like YouTube, but it's a protected channel and source that kids and educators can receive quality videos, but it's not the garbage that you see out there, right? So that's through the SchoolTube, and we'll be leveraging that in the future. And then a few other things related to the Quest of the Keys. You can buy a copy of the Quest of the Keys electronically. You can get that through Amazon, a Kindle version. We have an e-version. My friend Dr. Hoffman's already volunteered his wonderful voice to produce an audio, and we'd like to do that sometime soon as a way to reinforce learning and help people even where as they read the book, they can listen to it as well. And so we'd like to do that in the near future as well. Cheryl will be working on with a team of producing video webisodes that will take scenes out of the book and creating video content that we can use to reinforce in the schools. You know, the visual of seeing things is very, very powerful. So that's things that we have in the works. And then my wife really doesn't want to hear this part, but I'm going to share with you. We have plans to start writing book 2, the sequel, which we called Quest of the Keys, The Battle for Leoness. That may not make any sense to you right now, but when you get through reading the book, you'll say something better be coming soon, right? So we'll be working on that in this summer. And if she has one good arm, I think we can start writing on that. So our plans that book 2, the sequel, will be coming out in sometime later in 2014. And we'd like to do a trilogy. And my friend Ryan here even mentioned, you know, it'd be a great prequel to this book too. So we may have a 4th one in the offering somewhere down the road. So again, we're just again honored, excited to work with great people here at Ouachita Parish, looking forward to our partnership and relationship, and really learning that when this is all said and done, this is our thing, not my thing. Really, that this is something we can all have a part and a say what happens for many, many schools down the road. So again, thank you so much for taking your time to be here today. And we're going to have an opportunity to have a little Q&A now. So I'm going to turn it back over to Cheryl.
In the state of Louisiana, we're headed towards Common Core, and that's how our children will be tested in the future. And of course, that aligns us with what, Brenda, 40 other states probably, and it's going to gauge how we compare with other states to a degree. I'm going to ask Brenda Deason to come over here. She's my curriculum and instruction director, and believe me, she knows a whole lot more about it than I do. She's our expert, and she's read the book. So, Brenda, I want you to just say a few words.
I did read the book. In fact, I brought it with me so I could get my personal autograph today. I'd like to say it is a wonderful book. I taught 6th grade. I would have loved to have had this as a read aloud in my class. It's probably a little bit above that grade level. However, Dr. Hoffman, if you've read the book, you would testify it'd make an awesome read aloud for 6th grade. When I read the book, I was really captured by the characters, but not very far into the book, I began to realize, and I knew nothing about the book when Dr. Weber asked me to read it, I began to realize, hey, there are some values that are being taught in this book. And I had not looked toward the back of the book, but I started looking and seeing the questions and the teaching opportunities in there. It is a wonderful book. I have a grandson who's 7th grade. I knew it would capture his interest. But as I read it, it also reminded me of values that I need to hold dear and that I need to protect and I need to be doing in my own life. It just reminded me of those foundational values that I have always believed in. Not long after I read it, we went to see The Hobbit, and I sat there and watched The Hobbit and loved that movie, but I thought this would be an awesome movie. It has that same, it teaches the same values, but it also has that same genre of activity, you know, that those kids would love. Make a great movie. When I got to the last page, I'm like, oh no, surely he's written a sequel. Because it definitely leaves you wanting more. So, great book. I'm looking forward to us having it in Ouachita Parish.
Rick, I told you she would answer that.
Thank you, Alice, for that question. And obviously, you know, we want to start here, but we want this to be in Louisiana and other states, but we think Louisiana will be a key state to influence others down the road. And I had a conversation with Senator Mike Walsworth. In fact, yesterday, he was supposed to be here, something came up, and he met me last night to talk about the opportunities and said he had talked to the state superintendent. There's some interest and excitement there, and planning on lining up for me to make a visit to meet with the Bessie board maybe sometime in April to talk about it. But I think, again, the key thing to go to the next level is what happens here. So I think we've got to really steward this well, partner, learn, and let's get it when we go statewide that we've got something even better. But I'm hopeful that by the fall of 2013 that we could have it in schools throughout the state of Louisiana, and certainly some of the area districts as well. I'm going to kick that to Ryan, because Ryan and his team will be processing a lot of the feedback and surveying and how we kind of put that through the mill to say what are the things that we can build upon what we do. So I'll let him kind of talk about that process.
Absolutely. You heard Scotty mention the collaborative effort in which to write the book in the beginning. And that's the same type of collaborative effort that we want to extend through this pilot. We want to hear back from the classroom educators. We want to hear back from the students and the administrators. What's going to make this more successful? What do we need to change? What do we need to do more of? So it's really a collaborative effort with Dr. Weber and his whole staff and team in developing further supporting materials. All too often in the K-12 sector, there are supporting materials that are created in what some may assume is a vacuum, and they don't really provide classroom value once they hit the market. And so we want to make sure we're getting that feedback as we start to develop additional supporting materials throughout the process.
Dr. Hoffman, I wanted to say also, we're committed with the financial support, the school system. We're going to encourage our middle school principals to purchase and help with the purchase of the books for all the libraries and of course student books in the classroom as well, because we really believe this is going to help in a lot of ways. We keep hearing about the curriculum, but of course also the values that are taught.
I'd absolutely be willing to come to your school just about any time, and it always gives me a good excuse to see my parents and my grandkids. So I'm always looking for a reason to make it back to this area. So absolutely loved it. And that's part of the relationship I think here that we can have, that the fact that being the author and I wrote the book and I'm back here, I think that will make an impact on the students. So we'll get their interest level, and who knows, we may have authors that come from that. So whatever I can do to encourage, to whet their appetite about, hey, because they can look at me and say, this guy can do it, maybe anybody can do it. So whatever I can do to help encourage that. And we'd love the opportunity to come visit your school. That's a great question. And again, knowing that we plan to write multiple books, that this would be a series of 4 is our plans. But in addition to that would be that we have developed a leadership system called personal leadership called Quest the Keys. In fact, I was in India teaching 45 executives and engineers how to take these same principles at a very high level, that they can learn these things, so we can work with CEOs on down to 5th graders and they can learn these principles. So there's a wide spectrum where these principles can apply. Again, you can't teach a 5th grader the things that you want to teach a CEO of a major corporation. So we want to create a learning environment that, and I'm talking to a large school system in Texas right now, Jay, that they want to take beyond just using as curriculum. They want to brand their schools with these principles that are hanging on the walls to reinforce those type values. And that's really where we want to ultimately see it go. But it's like we've got to take some steps along the way. Trust factor and all of those things. But where it becomes part of the DNA, you know what I'm saying? It really changes the culture. And it becomes not only, and I think Brenda made a good point, and it is exactly right. When educators read the book, they're going to learn and benefit from it as well. And I think it changes the behavior. We start thinking in ourselves, you know, how can I live a more passionate life? How can I be a better planner? What about reaching my potential? One of the things that's really I don't know if burden's the right word, but maybe something that I'm passionate about helping educators to see is this, that they become the lead learners. You know what I'm saying? That we're teaching our kids to learn. Let's be the chief learners in that. So creating that DNA, that's part of what we're doing. We're always learning. We're always growing. We want to be the very, very best we can be. So there's a lot of directions we go. I'd love to collaborate with you on any ideas and anybody in this room on things that we can do to incorporate these principles and other ways to get it out there. So we'll kind of build off of that. Again, how well this does obviously depends on how big it ends up going. And that's why it's so important that we get support, grassroots, and really buy-in with us, because if we can't get buy-in here, it may not ever go beyond where it is right now. And I'm being very transparent with you about that. So, you don't really need me, I need you. So I need your help, your support, your encouragement in that and getting it out there. And I think it's something we'll be all proud about, but it's just not going to happen on its own. We got to put some energy behind it.